Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome back to Green Palm. In these series of videos, we're going to talk about Islamic lifestyle. I am Muhammad, and my co-host is here, Brother Dawood. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the key to success and happiness in Islam. What do you think about happiness in Islam? Like, what is happiness? What is success? We all know that as Muslims, we have to be, obedient to God, and we have to do the wajibat. We have to refrain from the muharramat. We have to perform the acts of worship. We know all of this. Like all Muslims, they are like this. If you don't pray 5 times a day, if you don't fast, if you don't go to Hajj, and you're expected to do these things as a Muslim. If you don't do them, then you're not a true Muslim. But a lot of Muslims, they don't feel happy. They don't think they're successful in their lives. So what should they do? What do you think we should do as Muslims in order to be happy and successful people?
Sure. Well, first of all, Assalamu alaikum. I just want to point out that this series of discussions that we're going to be having is broadly based on the book that I translated.
It's a really good book.
It's a pretty good book by Sheikh Abbasi Valadi, and it's about marital life and how to be happy as a married couple.
So it's a book on leading an Islamic lifestyle, basically.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
So our discussion is broadly based on the content of this book. I recommend my brothers and sisters to read it. It's very insightful. And that's a very good question that you raise, question of happiness. It's one of those terms that is thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
It's talked about a lot, but it's not really defined well by the people who use it. What I think we should do first is to see how we need to define happiness to then get to the questions that you raised, which are very pertinent and very significant questions.
Can we refer to the Quran first and see what the Quran says about happiness and success?
But I want to step back and highlight the fact that happiness, the definition of happiness is basically comes from the worldview that you have.
Yeah.
The worldview that you espouse in life determines what definition of happiness that you have. So from the Islamic perspective, happiness in life is the result of obedience to God.
Yeah.
As the Quran says, وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا.
Yeah.
And
there's another verse that says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ.
Yeah, that's the purpose of life. But this one is more directly related to the question of success and happiness, because they're pretty much they're overlapping concepts. Success and happiness are overlapping concepts.
So again, we have this dilemma where you say, okay, I'm obeying God, I'm obeying the messenger, and yet I'm not happy. I don't feel like I'm successful in life.
Okay.
So there's more to it than just religion.
But why? The question that I would like to first talk about, to then get to those more granular questions, is why does God say, obey God and obey the Prophet and you'll be happy? Is God some big old man sitting somewhere in heaven and, it makes him happy, it pleases him that we obey him? Is that why? How is obedience to God? I want to ask a more fundamental question. How is obedience to God related to happiness? Why does God? So we believe that the Quran, whatever the Quran says, is the truth, right? It's not just some random instructions or some random words that God has, for his own pleasure, decided to hand down to us.
So are you saying that just being religious and, doing the things that God wants from us and the messenger wants from us is enough to be happy and
Ye-
successful? But I think there are different markers for happiness right now. They say that, we have material happiness
yeah.
and, having a lot of wealth, having a good house, a good car,
Right. Right.
a good
Those are all good
wife, a
questions,
good
but I
job.
want to start from a
So
couple of
aren't
steps
these
back.
also important in Islam?
Yeah. Well, you will get there, but at first, the question that I want to
Is it
address
bad to have these? Like,
that exactly we're going to get there.
yeah,
Okay,
okay.
but I want to start on a more fundamental level, if that's okay with
Like,
you.
could you just make it not too technical?
Not
It's
too
getting too
technical, but
technical.
I think it's important that we understand why does God say obey God وَمَا يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا.
Yeah.
We need to understand why is it that obedience to God or obedience to the prophet leads to happiness, entails happiness. Why
Mhm.
is it?
So why is it?
The reason is that God is the author of the world, the architect of the world, and the architect of the human being.
Mhm.
Okay, when He tells us to do this or to do that, okay, He knows how He has fashioned our soul and our body. He knows how He has fashioned the entirety of our existence. Okay, so when He
Could you give
tells
me
us,
some examples instead of
sure,
talking about the theory and theoretical things? I want some concrete examples of how we can please God, how we can obey God and become happy individuals.
right.
Okay?
Well, I might not have the
We all
answer to that
know that
question.
we all
On
know
that,
that God has created us and he
right,
knows what's in our best interests, right?
right, right.
So
No,
how
no, but
can we how
this is a
can we do
very
something that, pleases God and pleases us as
well.
well?
That's the same acts of obedience and worship that He's told us. This is a very key
But I think
point.
it's more to it than that.
No, no, it's actually very simple. It's actually very simple. Okay, but the key is that we understand this very important fundamental point that the instructions that God has handed down to us are based on the architecture of our being. This is a very important point. Okay. So when God says pray 5 times a day, do your morning prayers got to be 2 rakats. Okay. Your Maghrib prayers got to be 3 rakats. Or you have to fast 1 month during the year, the month of Ramadan. It's not that He likes to put limits on our freedom, on our liberty. That's not how it works.
Mhm.
Okay. As the Quran tells us over and over again. Okay. If the entire world disbelieve in God and reject faith, that won't in the least uh, impact God negatively.
Mhm.
Okay. God, the instructions that we've received from God are because out of His compassion for us, He wants us to achieve happiness. فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. He wants us to achieve happiness. Okay.
Okay.
And it's very, the basically the way to get there is very simple theoretically. In practice, it might be more difficult, but theoretically, it's very simple. You just have to do the wajibat and muharramat.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Now,
people's
what?
conception of the wajibat and muharramat is really different. Like some people, they think that just doing the wajibat and, you know, not caring about akhlaq. And I think a lot of people, they overlook the issue of how to treat people, how their akhlaq is toward other
That's a
people.
good point.
And this is part of the obedience to God and, obeying
Exactly.
God
So
and the messenger.
that's so. Then you
And
have
even
to.
the prophet says he was delegated as a prophet to perfect what? Akhlaq, makarim al akhlaq, noble traits or
Right.
noble
Right. Right.
conduct,
Right.
right? So a lot of religious people, they, the way they treat others is really condescending sometimes, I feel.
Okay.
Like they think they're really important and whatever they say is right and
Yeah.
everyone else is bad, and they judge people. If they see someone who is like doing something wrong, they say, "Oh, you're gonna go to hell. You're a bad person."
Right, right.
It's not always like that. It's not black and white. I think
Yeah.
we have to see the whole picture.
Okay. So what do you think is the solution? What do you think? How do you approach it?
I think that we have to have like a comprehensive plan for our life.
Ex- but is it something other
It's
than wajibat and muharramat?
Well, we have mustahabbat as well. We have makruhat
But what
as
does wajib and muharram mean? It means if you do that, when God says these are the wajibat and muharramat, that means these are enough. These are all that I require of you. All right. God is all wise. So when God says these are enough, these are all I require of you. If you do the other stuff, that's good too. But these are sufficient. Wajib muharram means these are sufficient.
So isn't having good akhlaq part of the
Yes,
wajibat and
exactly.
muharramat?
Exactly. It now the important problem I think that you're addressing, okay, and I think a lot of believers, a lot of Muslims get wrong, is how do you define wajib and muharram? Okay, what is the scope of wajib and muharram? Okay, um, let me give you an example. Okay, this is an example that um w- basically it was an issue that I had to deal with, and I think a lot of believers that try to be pious also deal with. So, for instance, there are some scholars, certain scholars that say that you have to be extra careful about the type of food you eat. You
Mhm.
have to be extra careful about the meat you eat. Okay. You have to be sure that the meat that you eat is definitely 100% halal. 100% it was slaughtered correctly. There's no doubt about it. Whereas that contrasts with what Islam says. Although the scholars who say this are very um, respectable, esteemed scholars.
So so the
But,
question is right
yeah,
now.
well, let me finish. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Let me
go ahead.
finish
I'm
this.
sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So they say that you have to, like, even if your brother in faith gives you a meal, gives you some food, try not to eat it. It'll have a negative spiritual effect on you. I'm trying to get back to you the question of akhlaq that you mentioned.
This
Okay.
is more like mysticism that you're talking about.
Exactly. They say it's spiritually, it's bad for you. Okay. If you eat that food, because although to all intents and purposes halal, Islam says it's halal, Imam Sadiq said it's halal, but because it was not, in fact, in reality, it was not slaughtered properly. It will, although it's halal, it will have a
Negative effect.
deleterious spiritual effect on you. Okay.
Mhm.
Whereas the students of Allama Tabatabai say, look, there's the scholars, although they're esteemed scholars, the scholars who say this, they're actually inadvertently doing something or saying something that is counterproductive from an akhlaq point of view. Okay.
Mhm.
So when you go to your when your brother in faith invites you, okay, he puts some food in front of you. Okay,
Okay.
you're his guest. Okay, if you uh if you refuse to eat the food, how is that? How is that gonna? How is your brother in faith going to feel?
Really bad.
It's إيذاء
He's gonna
mu'min.
get upset.
It's إيذاء mu'min.
Yeah.
It's you're bothering or you're annoying um your brother in faith, which is haram. إيذاء mu'min is haram. Imam Sadiq tells us the honor,
Choosing
the
the
integrity of a believer is greater than the honor of the house of God. All right.
Mhm.
So, going back to your question, a haram, again, the key to happiness is doing your wajibat and refraining from haramat. But we have to make sure that we understand our wajibat and haramat correctly. If we go
Yeah.
home, do our prayers correctly, on time, do them perfectly, do all the taghibat, okay?
Yeah.
But then we uh, physically punish our children. Okay, we mistreat our spouses. Okay, we're doing something haram. That's why a lot of believers, going back to your question, a lot of believers, they say we see pious people who do their prayers on time, do their fasting on time, do seems like they're doing everything right, but they're not happy because they don't have that bird's eye view of the faith. They're not implementing the faith in its totality.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that if a person is like this and they do all the wajibat and they refrain from all the muharramat, they should be happy.
They should be, and they
they
will
should
be
feel
happy.
as if they are successful.
They will be happy because that's what
I
God
think
says.
niyyah is really important. Intention
Oh, of
is
course. That's part of
very
wajib and haram.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
just doing
Yeah.
those wajibat and muharramat. Having a pure intention is a lot more important for all of our actions, not just the wajibat, even the mubah, even the mustahabbat. You're not doing riyah. You're not showing off to people.
Oh yeah.
These
definitely.
are all important.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so we have to have this ideology that the wajibat and muharramat, they are what determine whether
This
we're
is
successful.
all you need for your life. Ayatollah Khushbak used to say, or Allama Tabatabai says in his books, if you, when you get up in the morning, okay, you repeat to yourself, you remind yourself that God is your Lord. The only purpose you have in life is to please Him. You'll be happy. Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, happiness is a spectrum.
Could you try to explain this in layman terms? Like,
well, that's, yeah.
You're talking about really technical stuff.
No, actually, I don't think it's that technical.
Like any
obedience to God, wajib and muharram. How much simpler can you get? Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
how
the
can
thing
we
is,
know the scope of the wajibat and muharram?
What's that?
The scope of wajibat and muharram. How can we know that?
You have to refer to the risala of your marja. That's all it takes.
But they don't explain everything. They only talk about jurisprudential things.
And that's what you need. Wajib and muharram. Yes, they do. Okay. Now, what other routes do you have to happiness?
I think people should think more about akhlaq and the way they treat
What do you mean by
people.
akhlaq? Can you give me a couple examples?
I think akhlaq it's a very broad term, but it encompasses many things. And you don't just look at it in terms of the wajibat and muharramat.
So there are things, okay, that you know what the implication of that is? You know what? It has a very...
It's like respecting your parents.
Exactly. That's wajib.
It's
exactly. So
وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا.
It's wajib.
So
it's part of wajibat again.
Yeah, but a lot of people, they don't know that it's part of the wajibat.
Well, that's because they haven't read the Risala. That's because they haven't read the books that they need to read.
Does it say in the Risalas that you have to respect your parents?
Oh yeah, it does. Over and over. Yes, yes. Like when it comes to when you read the section on Sawm, the section on fasting, it says one of the issues is that if you or I forget exactly where it is, but anyway, if you travel and the travel is a sinful travel, okay, you have to do your prayers complete. Your prayers are not broken. What is one of the causes of a sinful travel? If the travel that you're making, if the travel that you're going on,
you have to fast. Okay? You're not allowed to break your fast. Huh?
If the travel that you're going on, okay, displeases your parents. Okay, so that's one of the instances, and this is repeated, like it's in numerous parts. Now, you might suggest that we need a better risala. Our scholars need to reform how they write the risala. But
the problem with the risala is that it's
I'm sorry if you'd permit me to finish.
Okay, go ahead.
This, sorry about that. If you say that the happiness rests on factors that are outside of the scope of wajib and haram, you know what the implication is? The implication is that there are certain things that you need to reach happiness, but God has not required it of you. God has not told you that these are necessary for your spiritual and material well-being. I don't think that's an implication that you would want to live with, basically.
So making a lot of money, like, is it a wajib act?
No, but
It's not.
providing for your family is wajib.
Yeah.
There you go. Providing for your
Making a
family is wajib.
halal living
Exactly.
is
And
also wajib.
as Imam Sadiq tells us, working to provide for your family is like jihad in the way of God. Okay. So I think it would be a good idea to contrast the Islamic definition of happiness, okay, with the predominant conception of happiness, which is the
Secular,
Western.
yeah.
Okay. I think to make it more tangible, it would be good to do that. Okay. So I think it's pretty obvious that in the West, and by extension, many other parts of the world also, they define happiness based on materialistic metrics,
Yeah, of
right?
course, yeah. They don't consider
Wealth,
God.
being wealthy, all right, or associating with important people. Okay.
But that doesn't go against Islam, you know?
No,
I
but
mean, like,
but
being wealthy is not a bad
of
thing.
course, yeah.
Having a big house, a good car,
No, no,
that's
no,
not a
no.
bad thing
But
either in
are they the
Islam.
key to? The thing is, Western ideology or the Western way of life defines these factors as the keys to happiness. That's what Islam disagrees with. All right. So, and in practice, what we see is that actually people in the West are not happy. Wealth doesn't make people happy. Who's the richest man in the world right now?
Bill Gates or
I
the
think it's Elon
CEO
Musk.
of Apple? Elon
Elon Musk,
Musk,
I think.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
he's the richest person. But you read his, you read his life, read about his life, read the biographies about him. He's been through a lot of drugs. Okay, now why is it that in the West, in America, spearheading that materialistic culture, America is basically the spearhead
Yeah, the
of that
American
culture,
dream,
right?
yeah,
The American dream. Why is it? Why do you think a few years ago they legalized marijuana?
yeah.
Why do you think they're now talking about legalizing LSD? Why? Because the illusion of happiness that they've been selling their people isn't working. It's not even working for the wealthiest and the quote unquote most successful people. The most successful people are actually the one, if you look at, if
Yeah,
you,
but, I think you have to explain to people more than just saying, "Do the wajibat, refrain from the muharramat, and you'll be happy." You have to open it up a little bit
of
and
course.
say, "Okay, you have to do this. You have to respect your parents. You have to treat your children
Oh,
well.
yeah. Well,
You
I mean,
have
there's a lot
to
of,
do something so that people are pleased with you." Of course, I'm not saying that pleasing people and not pleasing God is the goal, but I mean, pleasing God, pleasing people is also important so that
uh,
people have a positive outlook on you, you know?
well, yeah, well, we're talking about the basics right now. So wajibat and muharramat, there's dozens of wajibat and
Yeah.
muharramat. Okay, exactly. I think two things. We need to do two things, which of course I don't think we can get to in this one episode. One is, what are the wajibat and muharramat? How do you get to know them? One of the first things that you can do to get to know your wajibat and muharramat is referring to the risala of your marja, basically the manual of precepts that a religious authority publishes. Okay. And the second thing is, I think we need to, and this is, I think, this is more, concerns the scholars who try to explain whose duty it is to explain Islam. We need to, or our scholars need to do a better job in defining what wajibat and muharramat are. Okay.
Yeah. But they can just generally talk about happiness. And like while talking about happiness, they can talk about the wajibat and muharramat. Like there are some specific concepts in Islam that it's not really related to fiqh and jurisprudence,
Mm.
but they are also important for being happy and successful.
Me
For
examples.
example, we have the issue of zuhd, asceticism, qana'a, being content with what you
Exactly. Well,
have.
I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you. The part of it that is actually necessary for your happiness, those are actually fall within the purview, within the scope of wajibat and muharramat. All right. So what is zuhud? Okay.
Living a simple
Zuhud,
life.
like you see Sufis.
No, no, no.
Sufis talk about
That's
zuhud
not really
and they
zuhd.
go into live in caves. Does that bring you
No,
happiness?
isolating yourself and,
Exactly.
detaching
So
yourself.
what is that
That's not
definition of zuhud that
the
actually
Islamic definition of zuhd is living a simple life, not being attached to worldly belongings. This is zuhd. You can be the richest person in the
keep
world
away,
and still
basically?
have zuhd,
Exactly.
just like Prophet
Very good.
Sulaiman.
So what so in other words, let me try to rephrase what you're saying. In other words, keep away from the impermissible means or the impermissible materialistic pleasures is the correct definition of zuhd. That again falls within the scope of wajibat and muharramat. So everything that you need, okay, this is actually a
This
point,
is what Ayatollah Bahjat says that
right?
the key to mysticism is actually doing the wajibat
Yeah,
and refraining from the
yeah, yeah.
muharramat. Wajibat means obligatory acts, muharramat means the unlawful acts,
Definitely,
by
yes,
the way.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah, for those who were
defining.
wondering what we're talking
Yeah,
about, we keep
yeah.
using Arabic
Well, yeah, we're taking.
terminology and
Yeah, I've. Sorry about that.
yeah,
I took them for granted.
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, that's. I mean, in practice, it gets a little more complicated. That's. Um. It's. I can't say the devil is in the detail. The devil is in the practical aspect of implementing
Yeah.
the wajibat and muharramat.
So I have a question
Mm.
for you. Is praying with hudurul qalb, presence of the heart, is it a wajib act or is it like a mustahab act? Because they say that the more presence of the heart you have in your prayer, the more it will be accepted by God.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they don't have that presence of heart in their prayers,
Right.
and they could still feel happy in life.
Mm.
Or those who have the, presence
How do
of
you
the
gauge
heart,
happiness?
they feel
How do you know
happy
they feel happier?
because they feel happy just in general.
No, well, exactly. Well, a lot of people who don't
It's probably
pray,
not true happiness.
a lot of people who don't pray, they might claim that they feel happier than Muslims. Okay, but that's why I said let's make the
How can a
contrast.
Muslim feel as happy as them?
Well,
What should they do?
I think they're lying, or they're under a delusion. They think they're happy, but why is it that
Who's
America,
lying? The ones who don't
the ones
pray
who
and the
they
ones
might
who are
not be
not
lying
Muslims?
intentionally, okay, but the thing is, um, and I know I don't want to harp on this too much, but I think it's important to note, okay, because a lot of people look to America, look to Western culture, and especially through the lens of the movies, the Hollywood movies that they watch, and they think that Western people are the happiest people in the world, okay,
That's not the case.
and the Muslims living in America or in Europe, in Western culture, in the context of Western culture, they might look at the other people around them and think that, but and I think this is an important point. Why is it that in the West, um, the use or the abuse of drugs and antidepressants is so high?
It's because of lack of faith in God and
Lack of happiness. When you're
happiness.
happy,
And why are they unhappy? It's because
exactly,
they think
because
that when they die, they will
no.
perish
Well,
and there's going to be no life after death. A lot of them are
that's
like
one
that.
that's one very small detail of the broader concept. Obedience to God. Okay, obedient. God is the architect. Going back to the first point I made, God is the architect of our being. Okay, I was listening. There was this I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah,
Okay,
I know that.
as you know.
Yeah.
So a few years back, I remember listening to this podcast that they were talking to this psychologist, and they said that they'd done this study on Eastern cultures where um, boys and girls both are sort of um, um, they have to submit to the choice of spouse that their parents make for them.
Mhm.
This is very taboo in the West. This is one of
Yes.
the evils that we're told that leads to unhappiness.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, based on the study that Western psychologists had conducted on
They
these
were
Eastern
happier.
people, Eastern families who don't choose. Now, I'm not saying don't choose your spouse yourself. I'm
Their
saying,
parents, they forced them to marry a
I mean, it's
specific.
not a matter of forcing, but it's accepted. It's part of the tradition that you have to defer to your parents for your choice of spouse. They're happier. They're happier than their Western peers. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of a lot of the tenets of Western culture that we're told growing up entail happiness. It's delusion. Okay, it's a lie. It's a falsehood. What is it that leads to happiness? True happiness. True happiness is actualizing your your inherent potentials. How can you do that? How can you basically know how to actualize and realize those potentials? There's only one way to do that, and that is for the architect of your being to tell you what you need to do.
Referring to the Quran and the Sunnah and the Seerah of the Prophet,
Yes,
the way of life of
to
the
the
Prophet.
Quran and to what the Master of the Faithful, Amirul Mu'mineen, to what Imam Sadiq says. Okay,
Mhm.
these are the key to happiness.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Brother Dawood, and
Thank you.
thank you for watching this episode. Until next time, we'll leave you in the care of God Almighty. Thanks for watching.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.